Hi, I'm Derek Irvin, and I'm here with Dr. Tim Gardner. And Tim is a local counselor, he's an author, a speaker, and a relationship coach. And on November 14th, he's going to be speaking to us about the power of sex in the marriage relationship. And Tim, I have a few questions for you. But first, I just want to take a moment and personally invite you to come to our November 14th luncheon. Here's the deal. If you're a person who is passionate about seeing marriages and families strengthened in our community, you'll want to check this out. You know, if your spouse can come, bring them along, but really this is not a couples event. We have many people who come individually. And you can let us know that you're coming by going to our website, bettertogether.us/friends. So, Tim, you've written 3 books, and one of the books is entitled Sacred Sex, A Celebration of Oneness in Marriage. So I'm curious, why did you decide to write a book about sex?
Yeah, my wife and kids ask that all the time. Why not sports? The original idea was probably born in my counseling practice. As I began to see client after client after client who had a real take it or leave it attitude towards sex and sexuality. They were functional sexually, they didn't have a traumatic past, but when it came to, how do I make this a priority in my marriage, or what do I do with this in my marriage, it was just a real, what I can take it or leave it. So that launched me into this study of, okay, what was God thinking when he created this? I found a lot of books on the how-tos of sex, but there wasn't much on the why. It wasn't much on the, what was the creator of sex thinking when he did that? So I set out to answer that question, why sex? Which I think is foundational for understanding how this fits into our marriages, how this fits into our lives.
Well, why do you think it is that sex is such an obstacle for so many married couples?
Well, I think it begins when they don't understand the why concept. If you don't understand the why concept, you're left with 2 things. You're left with sex as a pleasure, and when it becomes a pleasure, it's all about one spouse's pleasure versus the other one. So then it becomes an argument over whose pleasure should win. And then the second factor that exacerbates that whole conversation is our own selfishness. It becomes a battleground because, again, it's this pleasure versus that pleasure, me versus my spouse. And if we lose the understanding that there's a greater purpose to it than pleasure, there's a greater purpose to it than procreation, then it will descend into an argument over who wants what. Just like an argument over how we should spend our money, how we should discipline our kids, how we should keep house, whatever it might be. So if we lose the foundational purpose, it becomes very easy for it to be something else that we just argue about.
So what one thing would you want couples to know about sex?
Well, I think, first of all, I would like them to know that if they really understand it from God's perspective, they have the answers to the whys, that it can cease to be a source of conflict in their relationship. Because, again, we see it all the time that people argue about it. It could cease to be a conflict if we understand the answer to the whys. The second thing I would want them to understand is that at its core, sex is a spiritual celebration. It is a spiritual relationship. It's not a physical relationship, even though the physical is part of it, the pleasure is part of it, but more than that, it's a spiritual connectivity. It's the sign of the covenant of marriage. And if we understand it from God's perspective, it raises the importance of it from here to way up here. So as we begin to process and own, once again, the answer to the question, why sex? It not only becomes something we don't fight about, but it becomes something that's truly meaningful to us all the time.
That's really good. Thank you for sharing those thoughts. And I'll tell you, I really look forward to hearing more about this topic on November 14th. Again, I just want to remind you to join us, make a point to be there. We're pretty casual. You can brown bag a lunch, drive through somewhere, or you can pre-order a lunch on our website. Either way, let us know that you're coming by going to www.bettertogether.us/friends. And boy, we look forward to seeing you there.